Hey, welcome to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Letitia Ringe, and this is the space to be for high vibe people looking to create a beautiful life and business. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast, my beautiful friends. I'm Letitia Ringe, your coach, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Hello, everybody. Happy 2024. So I'm super excited to be here with you all today because one, it has been 4 months since my last podcast episode, and two, it's been a while since I've given you all a life update, and three, I have some really exciting announcements for you all today about what to expect in our community and on this podcast coming up. So without further ado, let's dive in. First things first, Happy New Year. I want to wish you all the most amazing year ahead, the most amazing 2024. And for those who are listening to this at some point in the future that is not 2024, I wish you a happy next 12 months. I know that 2023 was quite a challenging / transformative year for so many of you. And I hope that as you closed out the year, you gave yourself some celebration and gratitude to honor the journey that you've just been on. And with that, I'm super excited for what comes out of 2024 for us all, because I know that so many of you have some really exciting intentions, some exciting places that you want to explore within yourself or within different areas of your life. And I'm super excited to share with you how I will be able to support you with all of that as we move forward. The next thing I want to share with you is what to expect on the podcast and as a community coming up, because we have some really exciting announcements. So I have been on quite a deep inner journey over the past 2 years, I'd say at least, where I've been really going within to explore myself, discover who I am, get to know myself again, explore new interests, really reevaluate all of the identities and interests that I held in the past, really review and reflect on my business and my coaching and where I'm going next, what I want for the next not only year or 2 years or 3 years of my life, but the next 10, 20 years of my life and where I'm going. And with that, I have had an increasing desire to really integrate all parts of myself and to move forward in a bigger way, in a way that really scares me, that I have been desiring but not yet confident to move forward in. And now the time is here. So this is a chapter of my career as a coach and as a business owner that I'm now referring to as my legacy work. And it's also a part of my journey where I'm integrating, as I mentioned, all of the different identities I've held today. My career as a lawyer, my 10 years in corporate, all of my interests that I held before that, and also, of course, all of the different areas of coaching I've done since I started my coaching business over 7 years ago. And so moving forward, I'm going to be offering a lot of different resources for you all, covering all sorts of topics across our life. However, the way that I'm able to do this is that I'm really narrowing in and focusing on what my zone of genius is, which is what enables me to go wide while being really focused in what I'm providing. So for me, my zone of genius is really teaching and providing processes for improvement and transformation, whether that's through business, whether that's life generally, whether it's a goal, whether it's a total life makeover, whether it's your relationships, or whether it's a specific area of your life. I help people to improve and transform and really get to know themselves and build from the inside out. And so I love creating educational content and training programs, whether it's for a coaching program or whether it's for a course or whether it's for an educational resource. I also absolutely love teaching just as much as I love my deep coaching conversations with my private clients. And so what I'm going to be doing moving forward is really doubling down on all of the educational content I provide for you all. And we're going to be doing this in a number of different ways. The first is for the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. Yes, we will be continuing the podcast, but it will be changing quite significantly. So this podcast is now going to be a place for all things personal development, self-discovery, and life coaching related. It's going to be a resource for coaches and service providers in the personal development space as regards the actual tool of coaching and personal development and transformation, as well as a resource for people who are interested in personal development and self-coaching. I'm going to be sharing everything you need to create a life that you love, a life that you are inspired by and that you enjoy, and how to intentionally design a life that allows you to thrive and fulfill your potential. We'll be exploring topics like personal development, self-awareness, self-discovery, improving your life, life makeovers, coaching, transformation, and generally helping you to build a happier, more fulfilled life, bring any goals that you desire to life, build businesses and careers that are meaningful and purpose aligned, improve your relationships and love life, create inner peace and satisfaction, and create a life that is beautiful to you. I love this because it's really going back to the initial purpose of the podcast when I first began it back in 2018. Create a life that is beautiful was a term that I came up with, which I know is very long, but it was the term that came to me and what it meant to me at that time, which was the reason I got into personal development and doing it as a business in the first place, was that I wanted to help people create a life that they love, that they enjoy, and that they are deeply inspired by. This is a life that will look different for everyone. And as I've come to understand as a coach who's been doing this for some time now, it will also be it will evolve for you as a person, right? Like what lit you up 7 years ago, like me, some of the things that lit you up will stay the same and then lots of things will change. And so what we're doing is we're just always on this journey of getting to know another layer of ourselves and redefining ourselves and discovering what's possible for ourselves in our life. And that is something that I truly believe in. I think it's why we're all here, and it's what makes life fun and interesting. And the more layers we reveal within ourselves, the better we're able to understand every single other person around us. So this is why I do what I do. I love it so much, and I'm so excited to be going back to the process of self-improvement and transformation to really get into the details with you all about how to actually do that. And secondly, I am launching a new podcast for you all. So those of you who receive my community newsletters, i.e. my emails, you will have heard all about my new brand on the subject of conscious relationships. It is called Relate Higher. Relate Higher is a verb and also the name of the brand that I came up with as a verb to remind you of the choice you have in every single interaction with another human being. You have the choice to relate higher. That means to relate from a place of love, from a place of awareness, and from a place of intention. You get the choice to choose conscious connection with that person in front of you, as well as your relationship with yourself. And so the term relate higher is a term that I want you all to remember whenever you need to remember, hey, I get a choice here of how I move forward. You can say to yourself, relate higher. Am I going to choose to relate higher here or not? And that's going to help you reveal the way to approach that relationship in that situation. Now, Relate Higher is a new home that I created to offer all of my education and coaching on the topic of relationships. And this is not limited to romantic relationships. On the podcast on the previous season, I recorded 35 episodes all about romantic relationships. On Relate Higher, we are talking about romantic relationships, professional relationships, friendships, and family, and how to take a conscious approach to all of these. I intend Relate Higher to be a leading resource on the subject of relationships, and in particular on the topic of conscious relationships. The framework and process that I've created and have been teaching my clients and that I practice myself is something that I have created from myself. It's not something I've copied from someone else. It is a unique process and one that I have used with all of my experience to date, both as a family lawyer. I worked in a law firm
primarily on family law for 8 years. I was also a family lawyer, and I have been studying relationships since I was a young child. It has always been an area of interest for me. I've always been able to see, hey, there's a higher path here that we could be taking. And I have had the opportunity to really get to know and study and create a process and apply it in my own relationships, in my own life. And now I get to teach it and continue to evolve it. And that's something that I'm committed to. So on Valentine's Day, on February 14th this year, I will be launching a new podcast all about relationships. It is going to be your go-to resource for relationships and conscious relationships. And we need your help in launching that podcast, because in the initial days of launching a new podcast, it really matters that we've got 5-star ratings, reviews that tell people why they should listen to this, how it's helped you. And we also need your help in sharing the podcast with your communities. And so I really ask each of you as a listener of this podcast to please make sure you subscribe to our newsletter so that we can share all the details about joining the podcast launch team. And we will be giving out some gifts to say a big thank you. And we would really love you to be a part of that launch team and getting the message out, because your help in doing that is what ultimately allows other people to get the podcast into their hands and to be a part of this conscious relationship community that we're creating. So watch out for the podcast being launched on Valentine's Day. It will be the next day for those of you who are in Australia and New Zealand and similar time zones. But for everybody else, it will be on Valentine's Day, and that is very intentionally done. And then finally, I'm also launching another podcast, which will be launched at the end of the month on February 28th. And for everyone who's in an Australia, New Zealand time zone or similar, it will be the following day on the 29th. And this podcast is dedicated to all things business related. I'm super excited because I'll be sharing my holistic business framework as it stands today so that everybody has access to it. And I'm super excited because as life gets busier and busier, as more people move into business, it is a framework and a process that I believe more people need. It is a unique process that I created. It's highly effective. I focus primarily on holistic business coaching, or actually only on holistic business coaching, for 5 of the 7 years I've been coaching and in business. And it's all about how to holistically approach building a business and growing a business so that not only are you hitting all of your financial goals and building something that's financially sustainable and that can create financial independence and hit standard business goals, but also something that's going to fit your life as a whole and allow you to thrive as a human. And I'm really proud of what we've created there, and that we'll be able to support you more in this podcast. Okay, so we have 3 podcasts that will be available for you all being launched at some point this month. The new season of the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast is going to begin this week. It will be aired on a Friday/Saturday morning for all of you who are in the Australia/New Zealand time zones or thereabouts. And for everybody else, it'll come out on a Friday. The Relate Higher podcast will be available on Mondays/Tuesday mornings for Australia, New Zealand time zone, and then Wednesdays for our Holistic Business podcast/Thursday morning for Australian and New Zealand time zones. I'm super excited for all 3 of these podcasts because I'm also doing things a little bit differently. In each of these podcasts, I'm actually going to be taking you through a very intentional process for your improvement and transformation in the 3 areas: personal development, business, and relationships. So by actually listening to the podcast and following the coaching tools that I give you in each episode and implementing them into your life, you will be going on a process of improvement and transformation. I wanted to leave my legacy work. And so these podcasts that I am creating are that. If I was to leave the world tomorrow, this would be what I wanted to gift the world for our improvement as people. So I am so excited to be sharing these podcasts with you all. And in addition, we will also now be sending out 3 community newsletters each week. One is on the topic of relationships. We've already been sending this. If you are already a newsletter subscriber, you've seen these newsletters. They are from our Relate Higher brand on the subject of relationships. They go out on Mondays. We're already up to week 13. And so that will be continuing, as well as now a Wednesday newsletter on the subject of holistic business and a Friday newsletter on the subject of personal development. Now, these newsletters are going to be so helpful because while you might love listening to podcast episodes, when we read something, we learn in a different way. So we want to make sure that we're sharing a coaching tip every week on each of these 3 subjects to support you as you continue to deepen into each of these 3 ways of self-improvement and personal development for the week ahead. Now, if you're not already subscribed to receive our newsletters, then you can go and do that at letitiaringe.com/newsletter. I highly recommend you do subscribe because, like I said, what you learn through reading will be different to what you pick up listening to a podcast, and it will be a really great way to further integrate the lessons that we're sharing here. I also want you to know that we'll no longer be emailing out a podcast update every time a new podcast comes out. Instead, we'll be sharing these weekly newsletters, and they'll have a little reminder at the end for the appropriate podcast for the week, but there'll no longer be an individual email for each podcast episode. Alrighty, now that's not all that's coming. There is one other very important place I'll be showing up on that is new and different, and that is LinkedIn. So if you're not already following me, you can go follow me by finding me on LinkedIn under my name, Letitia Ringe. And moving forward, I'll be sharing a weekly article on the subject of leadership. Now, this article, while it is written for small business in mind, it is primarily written for corporate teams in mind. I am sharing a holistic approach to leadership to be used in the corporate world for management and executive level teams. And this is so I can share my point of view of not only running successful businesses and business coaching for 5 years, also coaching for 7 years, but also my experience in terms of corporate and relationships. I want to see better relationships between managers and executive level with the people they are managing, i.e. their amazing employees, and help to create more fulfilling corporate and work lives for the people who work in them. I want to see better managers, which requires better people skills. And often people get promoted for great performance into management levels or executive levels, but they actually don't have the necessary people skills and emotional and intuitive skills needed for these positions. So that is what I will now be offering my expertise on. I'll also be offering private consulting for corporate teams and leadership executives who want that. So if that is you, or you think it would be a great fit for your the business that you work for, then make sure you pass my details on, and you can join the wait list for private coaching and consulting opportunities at letitiaringe.com/coaching. So the LinkedIn article will go out every Monday, and I'm super looking forward to sharing on that subject as well and integrating those earlier identities I once held for myself. Okay, there is one further update, and that is that we will also be returning to social media this week. You can find me primarily on Instagram at Letitia Ringe. I'll be sharing videos and other educational content on the subject of life, leadership, business, and relationships. You'll also find a new account that I run called Relate Higher, which shares all content on the subject of relationships. Now, I want to encourage those of you who love using Instagram like I do to also make sure you check out our Instagram stories, because we will be asking you all regular questions and asking you to participate in polls, etc., so that we can get your feedback to help us create and shape the content that we're sharing. If you don't understand something, we want to know. If you've got a question about something, we want to know. If you've got a story of how you've transformed transformed something using one of our processes, we want to know. And it's a great place for you and I to connect privately. So make sure you send me a message, check out Instagram stories, and enjoy the educational content we share there. All right, my friends, so that's it for all of the educational content. I know it's a big commitment and I'm so excited to be doing this because, like I said, I love creating these programs and processes for you. Now, of course, for those of you who want to go deeper and apply these processes to your personal circumstances and get more support from me, or just to go deeper into a topic, depending on what we're offering, we will be offering other trainings and courses and private coaching. So the best place to find out about all of those things is over on our coaching newsletter. Again, if you're not subscribed, head to letitiaringe.com/newsletter and make sure you're subscribed so that you hear about all of those updates. The one opportunity that is open right now is our private coaching and consulting waitlist. In 2024, I will be offering coaching on a one-to-one basis as well as a one-to-two basis. So that's for those of you who I am couples coaching. And also I'll be doing private consulting for businesses and teams on the subject of leadership. So if you're interested in any of those opportunities, coaching can be done on life coaching. Maybe you've got a goal that you want to bring to life, or perhaps you want to do a life makeover, or perhaps you want to focus on a specific area, or maybe you want support in your relationships, whether it's a breakup, healing a broken heart, starting a new relationship, improving an existing relationship, deciding whether to leave a relationship or completing a relationship, or perhaps you want business coaching. All of these areas I will be providing one-to-one, one to couples and teams, private coaching. And the best place for you to find out, in fact, the only place for you to find out about those opportunities is by joining the coaching waitlist, which you can add your name to at letitiaringe.com/coaching. As places become available, that is where I will be sharing the details too. Okay, so that is everything on the subject of what is coming up for our community and where we're going. I'm super excited to be doing all of this because I love creating all of these programs and content for you all, and that is my zone of genius. So it is my absolute pleasure to do that. Now, a personal update for you all is that as I record this episode, I am now at the moment on holidays in Queensland in Australia in the Sunshine Coast. Earlier last year, my family moved from Sydney to Queensland, and I have recently arrived here and into my family's new place. It is beautiful. It sits on the top of a mountain in the Sunshine Coast. We have views of rolling hills, palm trees, lots of greenery, a little glimpse of the ocean in the distance, and it's like being in Bali but in Australia, and I absolutely love it. So this is now the place I get to come to and holiday to visit my family, and I just am so grateful to be able to enjoy the nature all around me. Every day we're just pinching ourselves wondering, how did we make this happen? It's so cool. I love this place. It's so beautiful, and yes, it's very inspiring, which is probably why the timing of this podcast and all of my announcements is happening right now in this beautiful land. Now, I have been to quite a few places over the past year. I have been in London, which I have just been creating an amazing community and so many amazing activities and things while I'm in London. I've really deepened into my love of dance over the past year. It's kind of wild to me, but I am now a dancer, everyone, and I basically dance every single day. I go to dance classes, sometimes multiple dance classes. I do freeform movement. I do partner dancing, and someone who I don't know can come up and offer me a dance, and I can find myself being led in these beautiful dances, being put up above their heads, around their backs, like all sorts of things. And yeah, that's my life now. I find myself being taught moves that I think I could never possibly do and then being able to do them. It is amazing. And I love this because it's exploring transformation, improvement, and personal development in a really physical way. I've built strength that I never knew I had. I used to think I just didn't have a strong upper body. I just didn't have strong core. And now I have all of those things. I'm also in love with reformer Pilates. I go for runs and walks and just really enjoy physically moving my body and exploring what's possible. I've been continuing to work on all of my inversions, my handstands, headstands, forearm stands, and just really explore my body and my balance and my strength, my flexibility, all of these things, and doing it with community around me. And I just love it. I've also lost over 15 kilos and my body shape has changed a lot since July of 2022. My sister and I started a Pilates 30-minute a day course that we both did together. It was 30 minutes a day or 30 to 40 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a week, plus going for a walk every day. And we both started with that. And I've just continued since then to layer on and grow in deeper ways, anything that I felt interested or curious in. And that's what's led me to where I am today with really great habits. I move every morning, every evening, and I just can rely on myself and trust myself to do that because I love it so much. So I'm really excited to share more about that with you all too. In addition, I have deepened also into my love of acting and improv. And I did an improv course last year and it was just so fun. And I showed up with a level of confidence I never knew I had. And so continuing on my acting and improv journey is something that I intend to be continuing with as well. So last year, I really focused on my life first and putting my life first and developing a really fulfilling life outside of my business. And that's what I was doing for the last 4 months of last year. I was really focusing on me and just enjoying my life. And that's part of the reason why I took some time off the podcast and just focused on my coaching and my clients and taking the space to allow Relate Higher to be born. I created a website and just really took time to be creative and also explore all of these other interests I had. And that has just given me so much more energy, vitality, excitement, magnetism, radiance, all of those beautiful things. And I've created a really amazing community around my new interests. I used to think I wanted to have the people in my life to come with me to all of these things I was interested in. But what I've really learned is no, just go to the people who are already interested in those things and make friends with them and, have your relationships with your other friends as they are. And that's really worked for me over the past 12 months because I've created some really amazing new communities. So I was also in London, as I mentioned, spent quite a bit of time there last year. I also went to Texas and went to the Life Coach School event, which was the first event I've ever been to. And I got to connect with coaches that I've been learning from for years and who really inspire me. So that was super, super awesome. Also, while I was in Sydney, as I mentioned, my family sold their Sydney home and moved to Queensland. And that was the first time I got to be in Sydney and actually really appreciate it. The first time in a really long time. That was a really, really special trip for me and very, very healing, or at least had showed that I'd healed a lot of the things that I had been, I'd found really triggering every time I returned to Sydney in the past. So that was really, really beautiful. At the end of last year, I also had a number of family members pass away. So there was a lot of family connection needed within my family and just healing to do and space to be held for those transitions. And in addition to that, I also decided to complete my relationship with the person I was with last year. That was such a beautiful relationship and so incredibly activating. It was the first relationship that I'd really actively practiced these conscious relationship principles in, and we got to create tools together and just really deepen into that work. And I really felt super seen and heard by my partner, and that was something that I'd been really, really craving and hadn't experienced before. And might I say, not because of my previous partner, but because of the places I wasn't willing to go in the past that I now was with this person that I was in a relationship with. And so it was super, super beautiful, though much shorter than we both intended, but very clarifying for both of us, because ultimately we realized that what we both want from our life and our relationships isn't what we thought we wanted when we went into the relationship. So we were both able to realize new desires that we had for what we want in life and relationships, and that was a direct result of our relationship, which I think is really beautiful, because we both ultimately gave each other the safety to really own and say yes to those desires. And so, of course, bringing any relationship to an end, and especially one that was also one of my most significant relationships I've had, and definitely the deepest I've had in terms of emotional depth. So saying goodbye was really, really difficult. It was also quite sudden for both of us. It was a surprise. We didn't realize that it was coming to an end until it was coming to an end. And so that was a different experience for me. But I did have my own breakup process to fall on, and my own conscious relationship process that I use with my clients. And so I took myself through that process and also got myself a support team. And the way that I moved through that transition, while, like any breakup, you have to feel the grief. There were many, many tears. There was lots of pain, lots of really hard, heavy emotion. It was dark and heavy for a period there, but it was also, for me, the best breakup experience I've had, because the way that I moved through that and kept the other areas of my life going and used it to really love myself more deeply, and to be okay to be alone and to step into the world with increased confidence, was the direct result of the process I took myself through, and the depth that I was willing to go to feel and explore those really painful feelings. So again, I just want to say, for anyone who might be going through a breakup or healing a broken heart, really, really see the potential in front of you. It is such an important part of your journey. And if there is old pain and heartbreak there from a relationship that you haven't yet processed, it's been years, maybe a decade, maybe decades, really getting yourself the help and support and space to explore those feelings and to be held in a container with someone who will help you explore those feelings and reflect on what you've learned, etc., is so worthwhile, so transformative, so valuable. And I love doing this work with my clients. So whether that's you, or whether you're stepping into a new relationship and you want to work with your partner and you want support from a coach, or you want support in another area of your life, I am here for you. I'm offering that private coaching because I really, really believe in these deep coaching conversations we have and how they support your improvement and transformation. I think that transformation and improvement is inevitable just as a result of these conversations. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to have these with those who choose to join me. All right, my friends, so there you have it. There are some life updates for you all, as well as all of our community updates on the educational content coming your way and how I'll be supporting you in terms of coaching moving forward. I absolutely am so excited to be here and to be sharing all of this, and I look forward to a really amazing next year/years ahead with you all. Once again, if you can all support me with the launch of the new podcast season as well as the new podcast, that would be most appreciated. If you haven't yet left a 5-star review for this podcast, it helps so much to get the podcast seen by the algorithm so that other people can find it. So if you could just take a moment and on Apple or Spotify or both of them, please click 5 stars and leave a meaningful comment about why you come back to listen to the podcast. That will help other listeners be able to identify themselves and start listening, because the algorithm won't won't show it to them as a suggestion without your comments and your amazing 5-star reviews. All right, my beautiful friends, until our first episode of the next season this week, I will see you over on email with our weekly newsletters, and I'm sending you so much love. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life That Is Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Letitia Ringe, and I appreciate you so much. If you would like support one-to-one as you up-level your life, business, or relationships in a conscious, intentional, and love-focused way, then head to letitiaringe.com/coaching. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.